Well, this is kind of interesting, like you said, it is the raw deal, but it's sort of through lots of other areas as well, not just news and journalism, because she had a history of taking women down, you know, and I was like the third in line or whatever. And yeah, I think the fact that she got away by interviewing lots of men as well to back her story, and none of them, you know, none of them stood up for me, and also, yeah, she didn't even sort of approach it as a female writing about a female subject who'd just given birth and is dealing with this, and also there was a war coming to an end in real time, and at the time she was writing about me, you know, they were confirming that there were war crimes committed. And to even not acknowledge that, whether what she thought about me made sense or not, and what, you know, Diplo thought of me made sense or not, she still ignored the fact that the Civil War had happened, you know, regardless of what diet I'm into or what I'm eating, you know. And I think that's, yeah, I'm glad you think that now that wouldn't be allowed to happen.
Well, I think it's a prime example of when a marginalized person doesn't stand up for the status quo and actually battles against the status quo. A member who profits off of that status quo comes out in an effort to take them down. And that's what that seemed like to me.
But also, her confusion, or it could be ignorance, I'm not sure, of how it is already difficult to occupy that space where you're the first one that's coming from the East. You know, in the history of kind of American music, it's the first time you've had a pop star who's not second generation, but a first generation. And I think the last time someone was that famous was probably, you know, Ravi Shankar back in the days when Beatles were around, you know. But since then, there just hasn't been that sort of person that occupied that space in the mainstream. And at the same time, the Tamils who were actually going through, you know, what they were going through at the time. And even in England or Canada and these places, you know, they were protesting. They were the biggest protests that happened. So they hadn't quite connected to me in that sense to back me up at that point, because they weren't ever used to having a Tamil musician or a pop star, because it's never happened in their culture, let alone, you know, I don't know, India or like a bigger country.
Because you're kind of straddling both worlds.
Yes,
so much
I
of the
think
Western
there's misunderstanding on both sides because of that. Like the West has never had that, and the East has never had that. So then you get a raw deal, because you have to kind of, you just kind of have to wait for people to catch up, but it's constant. And yeah, people go, oh my gosh, she has a lot of foresight and she could see into the future. But it's like, no, it's just, you're kind of doing things as you're doing them. And there are people that get it and give me the space to speak, or, you know, that get what happened in Sri Lanka and the Civil War, etc. But yeah, the rest of the sort of, there is a section of journalism that always takes time to like catch up.